Okay, thank you very much. Mary Ellen, you have a nice voice. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you for the mandala offering, and one that was well done, in tune. Okay. So hello and welcome to everyone. Thank you for tuning into the second session of this module 8 of Discovering Buddhism. So let us see here. We'll do just a very brief preliminary prayers. Sorry, I have to get to the page. No. Yikes. Trying to find. Okay, here we go. So here, just in a brief way, we'll only do this at the beginning because later in the session we'll be doing the daily meditation practice where there are more sort of preliminary prayers. So at the very kind of bare minimum before the teaching session, we adjust our motivation in this way that we think that we are going to be listening to the Dharma, listening to this Dharma teaching, so that we can become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. So already thinking that the purpose of our life is to be of benefit to others. And therefore, in order to be of more and more benefit to others, you see, the more we increase our inner qualities, then the more we'll have to offer others, the more we will have to offer others. And therefore, this Dharma teaching is going to show us the means by which we can develop our inner qualities and abandon the faults of the mind. And when we do that to the fullest extent, that's what it means to become Buddha. Okay? And therefore, since we aspire to achieve this state of Buddhahood or enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, then we need to devote ourselves to the practice, the Dharma taught by the Buddha, and rely on the Buddha, his teachings, the Dharma, as well as the community of other aspirants, other people training along the path. And that's the essence of taking refuge. Okay, so with that in mind, then we can recite this refuge formula. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By my merits of listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, Supreme Assembly. By my merits of listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By my merits of listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. Okay. And then, let's see. Huh. Okay, here we go. So here, yeah, we're on session 2 of establishing a daily meditation practice. And then, in a more extensive way at the beginning of the session, I like to start with a quotation from a Indian master. to sort of reaffirm the big picture, our motivation. So here is a quotation from the great Indian master Arya Sutta, who says, "Those who have obtained a human life rich in virtues through a collection of merit over innumerable eons." So who is that? That's us. All of us here have attained such a precious human life. Okay. And basically with this life, why is it precious? Because we have all of the conditions to make the most amazing progress along the path to enlightenment. With this very life, with this very body, we can all achieve the state of supreme enlightenment, without having to, die again and being not enlightened, right? So having such a rebirth, well, any kind of effect that is so excellent and marvelous also has to be attained through the accumulation of similarly excellent causes. So the causes of attaining such a rebirth is it was attained through a collection of merit. So through performing all these very extensive virtuous deeds over innumerable eons. Okay, so that's us. So we've attained such a human life obtained through a collection of merit through immeasurable eons. Okay, then who then, due to confusion in this life, fail to accumulate even the slightest treasury of merit. Okay, so after having attained such a precious opportunity, if we don't make best use of it, and therefore not accumulate the slightest treasure of merit, so not engaging in virtuous deeds that would then help to further our progress along the path to enlightenment, right? Then those who don't do such a thing will in future lifetimes enter the house of unbearable sorrow. So although we have attained such a precious human rebirth like this, it's not certain that we will get another rebirth such as this in our next life, right? So it's not like, in school, if we reach, 10th grade and we fail, we won't go to 11th grade, but we'll just do 10th grade again. Okay. So it's not like that we're then assured to obtain a human rebirth in the next life without us having to do anything. Okay. So instead, the rebirth in our next life, it can be if we don't achieve liberation in this life or enlightenment, it can be in any of the one of the 6 realms of samsaric existence. We can be reborn as an animal. We can be reborn as some kind of a spirit or hungry ghost. We can even be reborn in the hell realms. So what would that be like? That would be like traders who go to a land of jewels and return home empty-handed. Okay, so this is an analogy from ancient India. There were traders that went off, in boats, trying to find this kind of legendary island of wish-fulfilling jewels, right? And so it'd be very hard to find such an island. But let's imagine someone has found an island like that, and instead of then bringing the jewels back, they just, have a nice time on the beach, drink pina coladas, go surfing, and then, come back to their home empty-handed. It'd be such a great loss, right? So similarly, without the karmic paths of the 10 virtues, you'll not obtain a human life again. Okay. So yeah, in order to achieve such a good rebirth like this, we need to practice virtue. Okay. If we don't, then we won't get such a precious human life again. And then how can there be happiness without a human life? So here, I think I mentioned this stanza in a previous module where I sort of think that this means this happiness is referring to the happiness of liberation and enlightenment. Okay. So it's not that, okay, we can have a human life and therefore can be happy because, we can watch the latest shows on Netflix and those are really good, right? What this human life, the opportunity it affords us is to train along the path of Dharma realize what we need to realize, the wisdom of emptiness, and through that attain the higher states of liberation and enlightenment. Okay, so without such a human life, we can't attain even without this human life, it's very hard to obtain a good rebirth from practicing virtue, right? So you can consider, an animal, right? They don't have the intelligence to differentiate between right and wrong. So it's very hard for them to attain even a good rebirth, right? Much less talking about the higher, the definite goodness found in liberation and enlightenment, right? So without happiness, there is only suffering. So here you can think on a temporary level, right, or an ultimate level. So without happiness, without being reborn in a higher state, right, then there's only suffering. So if you look at animals, right, or beings in lower realms, they only experience suffering all the time, and mostly the suffering of suffering. Being how do you say, physical pain, being whipped, beaten, and so forth, right? But even on the ultimate level, without attaining the happy rebirth of a human life, then we can't practice Dharma to achieve liberation and enlightenment, and therefore there is only further suffering in the samsaric existence. Okay. Therefore, those who've attained such a human rebirth but don't practice well, then you have only deceived yourself before going into the next life, right? So only deceiving yourself means it's not that we're deceiving the Buddha, right? We come to the thing, oh, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, but we don't practice in accordance with the Buddha's teachings. So it's not like we're deceiving the Buddha. It's not like we're harming the Buddha, but we're only deceiving ourselves. We're only harming ourselves, because ultimately it's us who are going to experience the effects of not having practiced well. And therefore, doing such a thing, there is nothing more confused than this. Okay, so this is a wake-up call, right? So ultimately, the kind of essence of the Buddha's teachings is that our suffering, our happiness is in our own hands, right? If we train our minds well, if we practice well, if we engage in virtuous deeds, if we subdue our minds, then we're going to experience the fruits of that: good rebirth, liberation, enlightenment. On the other hand, if we don't practice, if we just engage in negative actions, if we don't subdue our minds, then we also experience the fruits of that, right? So now that we're at this crossroads and we have the opportunity to choose, how we live our lives, what we do with our time, then we should choose the activities that will bring goodness, happiness in the future. Okay. All right. So please think like that. And then, oops. Okay. So where were we? In the last, I'm going to go back, right, to the last module, right? So we went over then the topics covered in module 9. And so where we were in the middle of the 6 preliminaries, okay? And then we talked a little bit about how to set up an altar, okay? So then the 6 preliminaries, right? And this should be review. We talked about cleaning the room and arranging the symbols of the enlightened body, speech, and mind. Then I asked you to read in the liberation in the palm of your hand. And so in that, you would have seen the story of Chunda, who was very dull-witted, right? And then the Buddha asked him to clean the assembly hall for the monastics. And in doing that, he was then recited this verse about abandoning dirt, abandoning stains, and then making the realization that dirt isn't normal dirt, but is the afflictions, is the negative states of mind. So, it shouldn't be seen like, the Buddha is now having you do chores, right? Sorry, maybe some in the States, this song comes to mind, right? Take out the papers in the trash or you don't get no spending cash, right? Right? If you don't wipe the kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak, don't talk back. Anyway, this song just comes to me, right? So anyway, it's not like the Buddha is like, or our gurus are saying, you got to clean your room, or you can't go out with your friends, right? But as we mentioned, even this can have a deeper significance if we think about it in the right way, right? We talked about last week about how if you're going to invite a guest over, you would clean. But here you can even think that since you're doing this with a motivation that you're going to invite the Buddhas to your meditation space, then all the dust that is swept away, or those of you who live in a room with carpets, you can vacuum the floor, right? And then all the dust that's sucked out, right? If you have an altar like this, occasionally you dust the wood surface, right? All this thing you can think, right? In a deeper significance that all this dust is kind of representing your negative emotions, your previously accumulated negative karma, and so forth. Okay. And if you keep this kind of larger significance in mind, it has a bigger effect on your mind, right? Okay. So then, arranging the symbols of the enlightened body, speech, and mind. Yeah, we talked about this as well. Then obtaining offerings without deceit and arranging them beautifully. Okay. So here, yeah, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit because I'm intending that we actually go into this daily meditation practice of Shakyamuni Buddha. And in that, there is the offering cloud mantra. So I want to talk about that later. Then adopting the 7 featured sitting position of Vairocana, and then taking refuge, loving bodhicitta, and so on. Okay, I think we got to there in last week's session. Yes? Okay. So, you know what? Let's just go into the meditation. Yeah? How does that sound? We'll go through it, and then yeah, I can give commentary as we go. I think that'd be good. Okay. So now we're just imagining, okay? If you haven't already, we've cleaned our room, we've laid out the offerings, okay? Now we're sitting down for the actual meditation session, okay? So the 7 featured sitting position of Vairocana, right? Then we're sitting, legs crossed, half lotus if that's comfortable, full lotus if that's comfortable. Otherwise, if you're sitting in a chair, that's also okay. Remember, when you're sitting on a chair, try not to lean on the back, but sit upright so that your spine is supporting itself, right, with your efforts, not the backrest. Okay. And then having the hands in the lap, left hand down first, right hand on top, thumbs touching. That is usually recommended. Okay, have a little space between the elbows and the rest of the body. Make sure that you're sitting upright, centered. So imagining dropping a coin from your nose, and will that then touch your navel, the coin when it's dropped? All right, so not leaning forward or leaning to the sides. You can make sure that your shoulders are even and not hunched over, so you can roll them up and back. Your shoulder blades in line with the rest of your body. Gently tuck your chin in to the Adam's apple. Feel the elongation in the back of the neck. Keep the eyes slightly open, just gazing in the space in front of you. Just eyes open enough that light comes in. the mouth closed, but the teeth not clenched. The tongue on the roof of the mouth behind the upper teeth. And then I always like to take a few moments and just bring the awareness back into the body. Really ground your awareness in the body in the present moment. So feeling the weight of your body on the cushion or chair beneath you. And then, we talked about the 7-point Vajrachana posture. And then the 8th point is actually then to focus on the breath, right? So we were saying before we generate a particularly virtuous motivation, then sometimes since we're very, let's say, having a wandering mind, very busy mind, we use the breath to calm the mind further, focusing on the breath, the sensations in the body as we inhale and exhale. So now, how do you know you're breathing in this moment? Where is the breath manifesting for you? So you might feel the abdomen expanding and contracting. You might feel the chest cavity. You might feel the breath, the air as it passes over the skin in the nostril area. So wherever is most vivid and clear for you, just place your mind's attention and watch. Like an impartial observer, just witnessing what's going on. The breath should be as effortless as possible, so not trying to have a long breath or a short breath, but just watching the natural rhythm. For us beginners, it's also helpful to count the breaths. So every exhalation, at the end of the exhalation, count 1. Inhale, exhale, count 2, and so forth. When you reach 10, start over again at 1. In the meantime, if there's other appearances that come to the mind, don't pay attention, don't engage with them. So typically, as a bare minimum, we should try to do this for 31 counts at the beginning of a session. So we'll do that here. Okay. So then after getting the mind into a neutral state through the breath meditation, then we continue on with the motivation. So here, one would read through the text, and every sentence should affect the mind. So read sort of mindfully, try to generate the feeling behind these words. So thinking how extremely lucky that I have not died yet. I'm especially lucky that my death did not happen last night. How wonderful and fortunate it is that today I'm still a human being, a state that is extremely rare, but this is not all. I have a perfect human body, which is also extremely rare. I have met a virtuous friend who reveals the unmistaken complete path to enlightenment and is extremely difficult to meet. And I have met the Buddha Dharma, which is also extremely difficult to meet. Since I have met all of these extraordinarily fortunate circumstances, I should not waste my life in any way. I should make my life as useful as possible for the infinite mother sending beings. Their peace and happiness depend on me, and my happiness is received only from their kindness. The greater use of my life to other sentient beings, the more it becomes the means to achieve success and happiness for myself. The purpose of my life is to free all sentient beings from suffering and its causes, negative karmas and disturbing thoughts, and lead them not only to the ultimate happiness of self-liberation, freedom merely from the sufferings of samsara, but to the peerless happiness of full enlightenment as well. This is my responsibility. I'm responsible for the happiness of all sentient beings. Why? Because whether my actions are helpful or harmful to them depends completely on my own mind, whether I have compassion or not. By generating compassion, I immediately benefit numberless other sentient beings. At the very least, I do not harm them. The ultimate purpose of my life is to do perfect work for others. In order to fulfill that purpose, it is necessary for me to achieve the state of full enlightenment, the omniscient mind. And in order to do that, I must actualize the path to enlightenment. Therefore, I'm going to do actions that become only causes for me to achieve enlightenment and to bring all sentient beings to enlightenment as quickly as possible. May all my actions become only causes for me to achieve enlightenment and to bring all sentient beings to enlightenment as quickly as possible. So then here, there are these preliminary prayers. Later, we're going to do the refuge kind of full visualization and meditation. So here we just do it in a brief way. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, the Guru is also Sangha. So Sangha is the community, right? It's the Sanskrit word for the community. In the other refuge prayer, it's called the Supreme Assembly. So basically, assembly, a collection of people. So the Sangha is supreme amongst assemblies because of their, qualities. The Guru is the creator of all happiness. So here, what that means is independence on the Guru. The Guru is the one who teaches us how to practice virtue. That practice of virtue then has the effect of the happiness that we experience in the future. So in that sense, the Guru is the creator of all happiness. Becomes the cause by which we experience happiness in the future. So it's not like a creator God kind of concept, right? In all the Gurus, I take refuge. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, the Guru is also Sangha. The Guru is the creator of all happiness. In all the Gurus, I take refuge. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, the Guru is also Sangha. The Guru is the creator of all happiness. In all the Gurus, I take refuge. Then here, further taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. So with a thought desiring to liberate transmigratory beings, I always take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until the heart of enlightenment is achieved. With perseverance, acting with wisdom, compassion, and loving kindness, in the front of the Buddhas for the benefit of sentient beings, I generate the thought of full enlightenment. So here, yeah, it's just worth mentioning, right? Although we have the thought desiring to liberate transmigratory beings, okay, then it's not just enough to have the desire, but we actually have to, change our behavior and act with wisdom, compassion, and loving kindness to train in the path. And then this thought of in front of the Buddhas to generate the thought of enlightenment, then it's like kind of having a witness, an accountability partner, right? That we then, make this commitment in front of them. And that gives then our, this commitment sort of more weight, more seriousness. Okay. Then purifying the place. So here, basically what we're doing, we've already swept and cleaned the place, but now we're visualizing it, not just as our ordinary clean room, but as a kind of exalted sort of pure land of the Buddhas, right? And not just the room, but the entire environment being completely pure. So this is a verse actually from the great Indian master Shantideva's text, the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, or the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. Everywhere may the ground be pure, free of pebbles and so forth, as level as the palm of the hand, in the nature of Vaidurya and soft. So Vaidurya, then there's a bit of debate what this is. I read a paper that was published. Sorry, I should be precise. I read the executive summary of a paper. Didn't read the whole paper. But in that, these is a Thai publication journal, and they were trying to determine what Vaidurya was, and at the end of their analysis, they determined, or think that it's beryl, BERYL. Okay. In the past, this has been translated as lapis lazuli because it's a sort of bluish precious stone. But Rinpoche mentions that he met a doctor that had done some research and said it was not lapis lazuli. So anyway, point is, the ground, although it's this very precious stone, it's soft. That when you step on it, it's like cushioned. Okay. All right. Then invocation. So we invoke means we invite the Buddhas to come to this place, right? So Savior of all sentient beings without exception. So it's probably worth noting. This verse actually is from the time of the Buddha. And there was one time when I think it was a female lay practitioner, right? Anyway, one practitioner was somehow unable to travel to see the Buddha, or, wow, my memory. Either that or the Buddha was unable to travel to see her. And in any case, because of whatever condition made it unable to travel, she, with just single-pointed faith from her room, recited this verse, right? So, Savior of all sentient beings without exception. What this means is referring to the Buddha. So, without exception means any sentient being, whether they like the Buddha or not, whether they have faith in the Buddha or not, whether they are a Buddhist or not, then the Buddha has equal compassion towards all sentient beings and is equally sort of motivated and motivated to help them. Okay, divine destroyer of the unbearable hordes of Maras and their forces. So here, Maras, yeah, there are a little bit different presentations. So one is just in like the historical story of the Buddha when he went to Bodh Gaya and was meditating, trying to achieve enlightenment. Then it is said that the Maras, attacked the Buddha, trying to prevent him from achieving enlightenment. And it is said that the Maras shot arrows toward the Buddha, but through the power of the Buddha's loving kindness and compassion, those arrows transformed into flowers, which then rained down upon him. So on a very basic level, the Maras is what is preventing us from achieving enlightenment. Okay. So then in other presentations, you'll see a presentation of the four Maras. There's the Mara of death, the Mara of the disturbing emotions, the Mara of the contaminated aggregates, and then the Mara of the so-called son of the gods. So basically the Mara of death is the fact that we have attained this birth in samsara, uncontrolled rebirth. And because we are still under the power of the afflictive emotions, then we don't have a choice about when we die, right? It's due to our karma. So then the Mara of the disturbing emotions, the afflictive emotions, all of those, anger, jealousy, pride, so forth, that is the fuel of samsara. And then since we have that, then we take this type of rebirth where we have these 5 contaminated aggregates. So those are the first 3 Maras. And then the last one, the Mara of the son of the gods. Well, here again, there is a kind of personification of, the kind of distorted ways of thinking. It is also said that the son of the god then shoots arrows. But more generally, we can think that these are sort of wrong views that then prevents us from seeing reality, because it is the seeing of reality as it is that is going to be the direct antidote to all the afflictions. Okay, so in any case, whether we take the Maras as sort of deluded states of mind and wrong views and so forth, or if we view them as kind of internal or external obstacles to achieving enlightenment, then the Buddha is the one who has destroyed all of these forces opposed to enlightenment. Okay. Then perfect knower of all things without exception. So here in the Buddhist cosmology, the Buddha is an omniscient being. Okay. So Bhagavan is a Sanskrit word, then translated into Tibetan as Chom Den De. Chom means to destroy. So again, destroying all of the forces opposed to enlightenment. Den means to possess. So possessing all the good qualities. De means to go beyond. So the transcendence. What is the Buddha transcended? Transcended the sufferings of samsara, but has also transcended the state of perfect peace. Okay. So therefore the Bhagavan, So then we say, Bhagavan, together with your retinue, please come here. So this, then the offering prayer. Again, from Shantideva's Bodhisattva Charyavatara, may divine and human offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated, become clouds of the finest Samatha Bhadra offerings, filling the entire realm of space. Okay. So here we have laid out the offerings. We've lit the incense and so forth. But now we're not just going to leave it at that. But so those offerings we've laid out are the ones that are actually arranged. But here, mentally emanated offerings means we can, mentally sort of imagine and visualize offerings filling the entire realm of space. And then we will do this offering cloud mantra in which even sort of one water bowl, one stick of incense, we visualize that it multiplies. So, 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8, so forth, and then filling the entire realm of space. Okay. So here it's worth mentioning Samanta Bhadra offerings. Okay, Samanta Bhadra. So there's two meanings of this. So excuse me. So one is, you know from the King of Prayers, right? The King of Prayers is also known as the Samanta Bhadra prayer, the aspiration of Samanta Bhadra. And in those first verses, it talks about, heaps of sandalwood powder as has Mount Meru, all these various offerings, right? Of lights, of flowers, of incense, of sandalwood powder, of everything that's beautiful and pleasing to the mind. Okay, so Samanta Bhadra himself, in his practice of enlightenment, was sort of renowned for making these extensive offerings. Okay, so not only then did Samanta Bhadra practice the actually arranged offerings, but it is said, bodhisattvas, when they attain the Arya paths, they can then emanate various bodies, right? And so Samanta Bhadra also would emanate further bodies of himself that also made offerings, filling the entire realm of space. So that's one sense of this, Samanta Bhadra offerings, referring to the practice of the Bodhisattva Samanta Bhadra, and like that. But then Samanta Bhadra, okay, so in Tibetan, Kuntu Zangpo, okay, so Zangpo is good, right? Good. And Kuntu means always good, okay? So the other sense of Samanta Bhadra for our offerings is to then think about emptiness, right? And so the Samanta Bhadra offerings, actually everything has never been inherently established, never been truly established from their own side. And since from beginningless time, there has never been, and nor in the future will there ever be, inherent existence, true existence, existence from objects on the side, then these offerings are never stained by inherent existence, nor are they stained by the conception of inherent existence. Okay, so here we also reflect that our offering substances, they are empty of inherent existence. Okay, and in so doing, then it becomes actually a way that we can develop both the collection of merit as well as the collection of wisdom, which are the two causes for achieving enlightenment. Okay. Then there's this offering cloud mantra. So we recite the mantra, and as we recite this mantra, then we visualize, the one bowl into 2, 4, 8, so forth, filling the entire realm of space. Okay. So yeah, I'll give a kind of bad Sanskrit pronunciation of this, but just so you have, right? So Om Namo Bhagavate Vaja Sara Pramadane, yeah, Tathagataya. So here, when there's this line over the vowel, makes it longer, right? Okay. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vaja Sara Pramadane Tathagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tayata Om Vajre Vajre Maha Vajre Maha Teja Vajre Maha Vidra Vajre Maha Bodhicitta Vajre Maha Bodhi Mando Prasam Kramana Vajre Savakama Rana Vishadana Vajre Soha. Okay, so one thing to mention, sometimes you see this word Vajra. Okay, the Tibetans pronounce that as benza. So sometimes, when you hear, like for example, in the Vajrasattva mantra, instead of Om Vajrasattva, they'll say Om Benza Sato. Okay, anyway, it doesn't really matter so much the pronunciation. Some say we have to be very strict in keeping with the Sanskrit way. The other say that, okay, if your guru is Tibetan and they pronounce it in the Tibetan way, you do what your guru does, okay? So anyway, like that. So I just read it, but normally if you chant it, it'll be kind of like this. O Namo Bhagavate Vajrasara Pramadana Tadagataya Arate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tayata Om Vajra Vajra Ma Deja Vajra Ma Vija Vajra Ma Bodhi Mano Prasam Kramana Vajra Savakava Avarana Vishadana Vajra Soha. So we've done twice, we'll do a third time. Om Namo Bhagavate Vajrasara Pramadana Tadagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tayata Om Vajra Vajra Ma Deja Vajra Ma Vija Vajra Ma Bodhi Chitta Vajra Ma Bodhi Mana Prasam Kramana Vajra Savakava Avarana Visuddhana Vajra Soha. Then the sixth sense of power of truth. With this verse, the offerings that you visualize as numberless actually appear to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and are received. So think by the power of the truth of the three rare sublime ones, the blessings of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the great wealth of the completed two types of merit. So the two types of merit I just mentioned, right? The merit of collection of merit, right? And the collection of wisdom. Yeah, Sonam Gitsok and Yeshi Gitsok. So those are respectively, the causes of the enlightened form body of the Buddha and the enlightened mind of the Buddha, or the Dharmakaya. Okay? And the pure and inconceivable sphere of phenomena. So what that refers to is this lack of inherent existence of phenomena, right? So due to all that, may these piles of clouds of offering arising through transformations by the Bodhisattvas, Arya Samantabhadra, Manjushri, and so forth, unimaginable and inexhaustible, equaling the sky, and in the presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions be received. Okay. So here I'm going to pause and just give a little commentary about the offering cloud mantra. Oops. Yeah, here we go. So some years ago, in Bodh Gaya, the place where the Buddha was enlightened, Lama Zopa Rinpoche was there, and we did an extensive offering practice at the stupa at Root Institute, which is the FPMT center. And we did this mantra. He gave a brief commentary on the mantra. And I remember, he was very much emphasizing the importance of memorizing the offering cloud mantra. And he made this statement, if any day that goes by when you haven't recited this mantra is a very great loss. Okay. So that means we should recite it. And I know in Rinpoche's own practice, before he eats, before he, consumes food, he will do this offering cloud mantra, of course, to the food, because, when we eat, we can visualize that there's a Buddha at our throat, and the food that we eat, we can think that we're offering it to the Buddha, right? In that way, Rinpoche jokes, then the more we eat, the more merit, right? So, so it's a very, very good practice. So in any case, the benefits of this offering cloud mantra, as they're explained in the Kangyur, the Buddhist teachings. So there it says, the minute you remember this mantra, you gain the benefit of having made offerings to all the Buddhas abiding in the 10 directions, equaling the number of atoms of the sand grains of the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so here, Rinpoche is also very fond of reminding us, okay, what does that mean, right? So in general, those of you who did the course, the module on karma, will know that, in general, right, making offerings, practice generosity to others, helps us accumulate merit that then ripens in particular as having wealth and resources in the future. But there are certain, we call objects to whom we would offer, that then the offering practice becomes more and more powerful. So in Nagarjuna's text, Precious Garland, then it talks about the three fields of merit. So there's the field of kindness, the field of qualities, and the field of suffering. So if we practice anything in relation to those three fields, then the karmic sort of weight becomes more powerful. So the field of kindness would be like, our mothers, our teachers, our parents, other people who have given us a lot of kindness. Then the field of qualities would be the Buddhas, other, Sangha members, Arya beings, people who have, practiced and generated qualities. Then the field of suffering are, those who are destitute, poor, sick, in danger, dying, these kinds of things, those who are in very abject suffering. So practicing in relation to any of those, then the karmic weight becomes a lot more powerful. And this we even see in the world, right? How could you do that to your own mother, right? So if one was, sort of mean or harmed their mother, then even in the world we see that that's kind of seen as something quite wrong. And then talking about the field of suffering, of course, practicing generosity to a beggar who is completely destitute, giving them say $20 would be enable them to have a meal today, right? Whereas someone who is quite well off, giving them $20, it doesn't really affect what they can do, right? So then when we talk about the field of qualities, then it also is mentioned in the Sangata Sutra. First I should mention this story that Lama Zopa Rinpoche is very fond of repeating. So there was one great king in the Buddha's time. My bad memory. It might be, it was a king of some kingdom in northern India. I think the king of Kalinga, I'm not sure. Anyway, this ancient kingdom. And once the Buddha described, well, what were the actions done in a previous life that enabled this person to become king. And so it is said, the Buddha explained, in a previous life, the king, the king in his previous life gave a kind of medicinal gruel, right? A gruel, like a porridge, to 4 fully ordained monks, okay? And just ordinary monks, not Buddhas, not having realization of emptiness, not bodhisattvas, but just 4 ordinary monks. And due to that, was able to be reborn in India and be a king, and meet the Buddha, be a major patron of the Buddha, and so forth. Okay, so amazing, right? Now it is said in the Sangata Sutra that compared to making offerings to all the sentient beings in the entire universe, and not just regular, right? But imagining all sentient beings in the universe were wheel-turning kings. So here, a wheel-turning king is, very, it's coming from practicing a lot of merit in the past, okay? So they have a lot of good qualities, right? Okay. But they're still ordinary beings. They don't necessarily have realization of emptiness. So, okay, compared to making offerings to all the beings in the universe, right? As if they're wheel turning kings, having many qualities. Compare that to offering to one stream enterer. Okay, so a stream enterer, there are these paths in the Hinayana, right, where there's the stream enterer, and they have realized emptiness. Okay, but they could be, just on the path of seeing. So it's a good realization. Don't get me wrong, but it's the kind of first realization on the Hinayana path of kind of exalted path, means directly realizing emptiness. Okay, sorry for the new people. It's getting into maybe a lot of detail, but I'm just going to finish, and later you'll hear these terms in other contexts, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's what that guy was talking about. So stream enterer, okay, what we want to say is there are ordinary beings and there's so-called Arya beings or exalted beings. What is the line of demarcation between the two? Arya beings, why are they exalted? Because they have a direct realization of emptiness, the ultimate nature of reality. Ordinary beings do not. Okay? And then within Arya beings, right, there are these three vehicles, yanas. There is the Hinayana, generally speaking, right? Hina being kind of lesser or modest vehicle. And then within the Hinayana, there are the Shravaka yana, right? So these are the ones like Shariputra, like the direct disciples of the Buddha, who, having heard the Buddha's teachings, then practiced and achieved nirvana. Okay? Okay? That's why they're called hearers. They hear the Buddha's teachings, they practice, they achieve nirvana. Then there's what we call the Pratyeka Buddhas, the solitary realizers. So they also are included in the Hinayana. Hinayana, or lesser vehicle, it's called that way because they are mainly interested in only achieving the state of enlightenment, the state of nirvana for themselves, right? As opposed to the Mahayana, we talked about at the beginning, achieving enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Okay, so that thought, wishing to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, makes it great, makes the motivation great. And therefore, the fruit of that practice is the state of complete enlightenment, not just mere liberation from samsara. So Pratyeka Buddhas, then, whereas opposed to the Shravakas, who in their last life hear the teachings directly from the Buddha, the Pratyeka Buddhas, they practice longer. And because actually a little bit of pride, they want to sort of do it themselves in their last life, right? They don't want to be seen as having to rely on someone else for their attainment of nirvana. So they practice actually longer time. But then, because of all the imprints from their practice over a longer period of time, then they're able to, in their last life in samsara, be born in a place without the Buddha. And so they just then, through the power of previous familiarization, achieve nirvana without in their last life, the direct teachings of Buddha. Okay? Then the Mahayana bodhisattvas are those who enter the Mahayana path and are not yet Buddhas. Entering the Mahayana path comes when one achieves this thought of bodhicitta, the aspiration to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And like that. Okay, so that's the three vehicles: Shravakayana, Pratyeka Buddhayana, Mahayana. Just as a vehicle takes someone from their current location to a destination, these three vehicles take those practitioners to those three different end goals. Yeah. All right. So And then the Shravakayana, the first exalted path is stream enter. Okay. So compared to making offerings to all the sentient beings, right? And them being wheel turning kings, to offer to one stream enter creates far more merit. Okay. Then it is described further. There are these other levels, what's called a once returner. That means still on the Shravakayana. Okay, when one achieves the state of stream enter, it's possible one can still take rebirth in samsara for a maximum of 16 further lives. Okay, 16 further rebirths. Possible. It could happen more quickly, but definitely within 16 lives, you're going to attain the state of nirvana. Okay. Now, there's the once returner. That then means they will achieve rebirth, maximum one more time in samsara, and then achieve enlightenment, nirvana, liberation. Then there's a non-returner. That means they won't achieve rebirth again in samsara before they achieve nirvana. And then there's a state of the arhat, those who have achieved nirvana. Okay. So anyway, in the Sangata Sutra, it then compares, right? Compared to making offerings to all the sentient beings in the whole universe, as if they were real turning kings, to make offerings to one, stream enter creates far more merit. Then to consider all the beings in the whole universe as if they were stream enterers, compared to make offerings to all of them, making offerings to one once returner creates far more merit. And then compared to all the beings as if they were once returners, right, making offerings to them, then to make offerings to one non-returner creates far more merit. Then all the beings, of the whole universe, if they were once returners or non-returners, then to make offerings to one arhat, far more merit. Compared to all the beings as if they're arhats, to make offerings to one Pratyeka Buddha creates far more merit. Compared to all the sentient beings, if they're Pratyeka Buddhas, to make offerings to one Bodhisattva, far more merit. And so on. Compared to all the beings, if they're Bodhisattvas, to make offerings to one Buddha, far more merit. Okay? So then we do the math, right? Making offerings to 4 ordinary monks enabled this king to be reborn as the king, right? Okay. That's ordinary. They're not even stream enterers. Okay. So then compared to that, right? Okay. So then can you imagine? All the Buddhas abiding in the 10 directions, equaling the number of atoms of the sand grain of the Pacific Ocean. How much merit that is? Okay. That's why I went on this big kind of tangent and confused all of you with all these new terms. The point is, and this is why Rinpoche was saying it's a great loss. It's a great loss if you don't recite this mantra. It's a great loss if you don't have this mantra memorized. Okay. So, you get the benefit of having prostrated to the holy feet of all those Buddhas. So here again, yeah. It is said that, when we prostrate to the Buddha, every atom that our body covers, okay, from here unto they say the golden Vajra ground, which is, let's just say for the sake of our, make it easy for ourselves. Yeah, to the center of the earth, right? So you can imagine from here to the center of the earth, how many atoms your body would cover. Okay. So for as many atoms, for that many eons, you attain the merit to be reborn as a wheel-turning king. Okay, remember? Wheel-turning king? Okay. Then you receive the benefit of having made offerings of flowers, incense, garlands of flowers, ornaments, dharma robes, umbrellas, banners, flags, animals, sitting cloths. Okay, maybe like yeah, I don't know. Sitting cloths, divine dress, food, various ornaments, and so forth to all the Buddhas abiding in the 10 directions. Oh, I see. Animals probably is like the divine horse and the divine elephant found in the mandala offering. Okay. We're not offering animals like animal sacrifice, like killing animals and this kind of stuff, right? I should mention, however, you see, there's some great practitioners in Tibet that then also in ancient Tibet who made vows not to ride on a horse, right? Not to even ride on a horse because they didn't want the horse to have the burden of, carrying them, right? So, yeah. By the way, this list, we talked about some other Bhadra offerings. When we look in those first verses in the King of Prayers, we see all this, right? Flower, incense, garlands, ornaments, banners, flags, sitting cloths. Means like nice carpets upon which, to sit. Okay. Then you're freed of all negative karmas. You gain all the merits. You'll see all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and they will give you breath. So give you breath. This actually means give you. Okay, there's in the Vajrayana teachings, there's different contexts of this, but okay. On one level, giving you breath, right? When we're very exhausted, right? Okay. Then giving you breath means to kind of revitalize you, right? You have to, catch your breath, right? If you ran, right? You have to catch your breath, right? It means rest, relax, and kind of gain your full strength after being fatigued. So here, we are tired. We are tired of having been reborn uncontrollably within samsara from beginningless time. And in particular, those in the lower realms are suffering even more. And they're the ones who need even more rest, relaxation. So the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas then giving us breath means to give us respite from samsaric suffering and also particularly the suffering of the lower realms. Okay. You will be protected by Nagas, Devas, Nichin, smell eaters, Asuras, Garudas, Myemchi, Dorje Chenpo, Vajrapani, the owner of the secrecy, and the four guardians. They will always follow you perfectly, protect you, and guide you. If others try to inflict harm, they'll hide you from that. So these are different beings within the Buddha's kind of cosmology, non-human beings. So anyway, there'll be all these non-humans. By reciting this mantra, there'll be all these non-human beings who will, watch over us, guide us, and protect us. Then lastly, when you die, your consciousness will transfer from this world to Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, the blissful realm. Okay? So that's the benefit of the offering cloud mantra. Are we excited to do that now on a daily basis? Yes. I have a confession, See, after Rinpoche mentioned that, for a long time, every time I ate a meal, in my own kind of offering practice, before I eat the meal, I would do this mantra, right? Then degenerates, right? Now, yeah, I think I still do the mantra every day, but it's just, you need to be reminded again and again, right, about the benefits. And so now, even doing this teaching for you, I'm now, wow, in preparing, I'm like remembering all these benefits. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's good. Now, this extensive power of truth, it is said that, it's very similar. Reciting this, you get the benefit, but you have to visualize, right? It is said that, the previous one, the offering cloud mantra, whether you have great powers of visualization or not, you gain the merit of having offered to all those Buddhas. But here, with this extensive power of truth, it depends on your power of visualization. So at the very least, right, even if you can't picture it, just to think as you're reciting it, that the whole universe is filled with wish-granting jewels, lights, diamonds, victory banners, whatever you can visualize. Yeah, just imagine it, even if you can't picture it. You understand? And then you receive that level of benefit. Okay. So next, the prostrations with the mantra and the holy name. So then, we stand up and prostrate 3 times while reciting the following mantra, which multiplies each prostration 1,000 times. Okay. So one thing, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, he, in his compassion for us, right, he very much is into these multiplying mantras. Why? Okay. So first of all, it can be a little bit, I often meet people, it seems almost too good to be true, right? You recite this mantra and it multiplies the merits by 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, 800 million times, all this stuff. Seems too good to be true. Nonetheless, okay, there's a couple ways of getting your head around this. There is one text within the Sergei, our textbook. So sorry, those of you who don't know, I'm studying here at Sergei Monastery, one of the great monastic universities that was first established in ancient Tibet and now has been reestablished here in India with the Tibetans in exile. So there's another statement that, even by reciting Amitabha Buddha's name, one gets reborn in Amitabha Buddha Pure Land. Now, in the context of, okay, this is worth mentioning. So just because the Buddha says something doesn't mean it's true. Okay. Now, why is this? So sometimes to guide sentient beings, right, the Buddha would use skillful means. Okay. So remember before we talked about how the phenomena do not exist inherently, do not exist truly, don't exist from their own side. Okay. It's a little bit hard to wrap your head around, to say the least. We want to have this conception that objects are existing sort of from their own side. Just they're able to, they exist inherently in and of themselves, right, without depending on other factors, other conditions, right? We have this thought. We can check. But even this thought, it's kind of, His Holiness often brings this up about like quantum physics. And, in modern times, scientists sort of debating, like, does the moon exist if no one perceives it, right? Or the Zen would talk about if a tree falls in the forest and no one there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. So do the objects in our world, do they depend on minds perceiving them? We want to think not, right? I think so, right? Anyway, it's very, very, very subtle how phenomena actually exist. And what the Buddha is saying is this misapprehension, this misconception about how things exist is the root of samsara. So then, according to what is renowned as the kind of highest, most sophisticated, most subtle Buddhist tenet system, all phenomena lack inherent existence. Okay. But for some, if they think that, or if they're told that things don't exist in and of themselves, they don't exist inherently, then they could then have the doubt, oh, well, do things not exist at all? Right? And fall into a kind of nihilism, right? Oh, everything is empty. That means nothing exists, nothing matters. So for those beings who get confused by the sort of most sophisticated level of philosophical viewpoint, the Buddha would teach, well, no, you inherently exist, your mind inherently exists, don't worry. And by the way, you who are inherently existent, you're going to die and take rebirth in the next life. And that inherently existent you is going to experience the good effects or the bad effects of the actions you do in this life. So do good, abandon non-virtue. Okay? So that teaching to that person at that time for their particular needs, is what we call an interpretable teaching, right? Not definitive. We have to interpret it in another way. Okay. So in this very section of one of our textbooks, when it talks about which teachings are to be interpreted as something else and which teachings are definitive, our textbook author actually says this, this teaching that merely reciting this mantra, you'll be reborn in the Pure Land of the Buddha, is interpretable, right? So if it's to be interpreted as something else, there has to be a reason that the Buddha is saying that, right? Right. The Buddha is not just trying to deceive us, right? But is trying to skillfully guide us to the state of enlightenment. So there it says, well, it's not literally, it's not to be taken literally, right? It has to be interpreted as something else. But the purpose for him saying that is for those beings who are very lazy, right? Right? They wouldn't do the practice if it's just some kind of minor benefit. But if you say, by reciting this, you'll be reborn in the Pure Land, they'll do the practice. Okay? So doing some practice is better than doing no practice, right? And so they might then very diligently engage in that practice, and that will further them along the path. You understand? So now, I wonder, this is something to just wonder, right? Even these things like on the Buddha's holy day, right? We just had Labab Duchen a few weeks ago. It says the merit we do these days is multiplied by 100 million times. So, there's this great practice. Later, we'll get into it. The 8 Mahayana precepts, right? So I was speaking with Mary Ellen. She leads the 8 Mahayana precepts. And she was telling me, okay, you also normally do on the full moon day, new moon day, right? She was saying, oh, on these days, how many come? It's her and one other. right? But on the merit multiplying day of 100 million times, usually more people come, right? Okay. Now, engaging in the Mahayana precepts is actually really beneficial practice. So you can almost wonder, right? Okay, most days, nah, what? I have to give up dinner. I have to give up singing, dancing, playing music. No, I don't want to do that, right? But okay, one day I get 100 million benefit. Okay, I'll do this one day, right? It could be skillful means of the Buddha that at least on 4 days of the year, we engage in this practice, right? Could be. Now, another interpretation is, especially in the Mahayana, we're supposed to have a very vast mind, right? Maha, great, vast mind. And so one is, to think in all of this, like trillions of eons, whatever, right? The point is, we're supposed to be having as our goal that we're going to liberate all the sentient beings of the entire universe, right? As it says in the King of Prayers, right? Limitless are sentient beings. Limitless is the end of space. Thus limitless are sentient beings. Thus limitless are karma and afflictions. May my aspirations reach be limitless as well. Okay. So as aspiring bodhisattvas, we're trying to have a vast mind, right? Not that we're just trying to benefit, the few beings that we're coming into contact on a daily basis, but liberating all sentient beings of all their samsaric suffering. You understand? So then, just thinking in this, like, having to purify 80 trillion eons, or, as many sand grains as the Pacific Ocean, all this stuff, it's generating a vast mind. And to think, okay, that this is how much merit we need. We need this, oceans of merit, right? Then, of course, the other interpretation is to take at face value and just say, yeah, the Buddha, for example, the medicine Buddha, right, made special aspirations as he was training on the path to enlightenment, and made those aspirations that, in the future, in this degenerate time, may whatever being who engages in the practice of medicine Buddha, recites my mantra, makes offerings to me, practices toward me, may they receive, the great power of the practice. And it is said that, reciting the medicine Buddha mantra is like, reciting the mantra of all the Buddhas. Making offerings to the medicine Buddha, it's like you receive the benefit of having made offerings to all the Buddhas, right? So through the power of the Buddha's aspiration, medicine Buddha's aspiration, then we receive those benefits. So it could be then, take it at face value. Okay? So it's up to you. So this mantra then, it also enables you to actualize the wisdom, directly perceiving emptiness in this lifetime, and prevents disease and harm from spirits and human beings. Okay? So this is another one. Many of you will know Geshe Namdak, Dutch Geshe, who is now in Jamyang Center in London. So he once told me that it was especially to do this mantra with full-length prostrations 3 times a day. That's a special cause for you to realize emptiness in this lifetime. So I assume one of his teachers told him that. I have not seen that in a text. Okay, so the physical action of prostrating mainly purifies negative karmas of the body. The verbal action of reciting the mantra which praises the Buddha's supreme power and knowledge, purifies negative actions of speech, and the mental action of remembering the supreme power and knowledge of the Buddhas, which arouses faith, purifies negative karmas of the mind. So here we have the three levels of prostration. Okay. And yeah. Probably worth demonstrating. When I came to Ocean of Compassion earlier this year, we were on the karma module, and I demonstrated the prostration. So anyway, just to do it in brief now, right? There's a hand mudra. So you keep your hands like this, but put your thumbs inside, right? Here, the symbolism, you think that actually your thumbs is like you're holding a wish-fulfilling jewel that you're offering to the Buddha. Okay. So even if you're, sitting in meditation and you come to a prostration verse, you can put your hands like this and think that, you're prostrating actually with your body, but you're just like this. Okay. Then you're going to touch 4 places: the crown of the head, the space between the eyebrows, the throat, and the heart. Yeah. So normally, with this mantra, normally people say, Om Namo Manju Shri, Nama Shri Shri, Nama Utama, Shri Soha, and then go down and prostrate. Okay. So when you prostrate, then there's the 5-point posture where you come down, and let me see. Can I turn this camera around? No. Okay, but I can actually turn it around like this. You see? Okay. So that's our prostration board, and I'm going to demonstrate now. Okay. Can you see me? Okay. Can you hear me? 5-point posture, the 5-point prostration, you're going to touch 5 parts of your body to the ground: the 2 knees, the 2 hands, and the forehead. So, Om Namo Manju Shri, Nama Shri Shri, Nama Utama Shri Soha. And then put your hands down first, 2 knees, touch the forehead, come up. As you come up, also just here with the mental kind of awareness that now you're gonna like pull all ascending beings from the lower realms with you. Okay, so just like that. Om Namo Manju Shri, Nama Shri Shri, Nama Utama Shri Soha. You touch your 5 parts to the ground. Okay. So now, if you're doing full-length prostrations, it's the kind of same thing, but instead, right? You just touch your parts, the crown, forehead, throat, and heart, and then as you come down, okay, you're going to kind of lay out entirely, and kind of lay out on the floor, right? So some people they do this above the head. You can just lift your palms off, and then come back up again. Okay, you got that? So I'll do it kind of sideways, even though this is not good here. But right, you can do like this, coming down, right, and then extending out like that, and then coming back up. Okay. Does that work? Were you able to see? Really? Wow. Oh, I've somehow lost my upper robe, but anyway, we're almost out of time, so I'll just leave it there. Okay. So then we do that, and then we continue by prostrating 3 times while reciting Guru Shakyamuni Buddha's holy name. And according to the Kangyur, here we go. Each recitation purifies 80 trillion eons of negative karmas. Yes. Now, I should also mention, when we're doing these practices, right, it's kind of like how much purification happens also depends on our mind. And one of the factors that helps our purification practice is at the end of it to think that we're completely purified. Okay. So, I was talking with someone a while ago about Tibetan medicine, right? It's this, kind of herbal medicine. And we were discussing, do you take Tibetan medicine? Oh, do you think it works? All this. And I forget his exact words, but he's like, yeah, I take Tibetan medicine. And when I take Tibetan medicine, I believe it totally works, So it's kind of like that, right? It's the placebo effect. There's a placebo effect. I don't want to say that making, prostrations and reciting these mantras is just placebo effect. But what I am saying is, as much as you can, you can either, and this is how I did my own practice, right? I was a bit skeptical, like, what? All this purification? But later, as I gained more faith in my guru, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, I thought, okay, just for those of you who don't know, very famously, Lama Zopa Rinpoche for many years, he made a vow not to sleep. You understand? Not to sleep until all beings were enlightened. I think something like that. Okay, you understand? So what does that mean? So he is not wasting time, right? Nor does he want you to waste time. So if he thought, this is how I was reasoning, if these mantras were just, some kind of like marketing gimmick from the Buddha, right? And they weren't beneficial, he wouldn't teach them, right? So the fact that he's putting so much emphasis on it, it's like, okay, all right, I'm entrusting myself, I'm putting myself under, his guidance. He's giving me these instructions, I'm going to do. So later we see in other parts of the teaching, even those things that our guru tells us to do, and I see. Yeah. You remember in the section on the guru devotion in Lamrim, there was a student who went to his guru and was trying to receive some instruction. And the guru said, your nose looks like a Rudraksha bead. So Rudraksha bead is, the Hindu yogis have it. It's a quite rough bead, right? So the guru was just making some kind of comment, right? Maybe a little bit funny comment. But the student took that as an instruction and so kind of meditated on that. And it said, gained some level of realization. My nose is like a Rudraksha bead, right? So having faith in the guru and following the guru's instructions then becomes a very, profound practice in itself, right? Okay. So after doing that, oh, so sorry. We went through this, right? To the guru. Yeah. Guru literally means, the one heavy with qualities. Okay. Teacher in this case, in this context, Tunpa. So although maybe I'm a teacher, I'm not a Tunpa. Tunpa means the one who comes into the world, like the Buddha, when at a time when the Buddha's teachings do not exist at all, and it teaches them freshly, right, for the first time. Bhagavan, that's what we talked about, endowed, transcendent, destroyer. Tathagata, yeah, one gone to thusness. So thusness is another way of describing the ultimate nature of reality. So the Buddha has, gone to the kind of unbroken state of direct realization into the ultimate nature of reality. Arhat means a foe destroyer. So destroyed all the foes, meaning the forces preventing one from achieving enlightenment. Perfectly complete means perfectly complete in all good qualities. Buddha, the awakened one. Glorious conqueror Shakyamuni. So our historical Buddha, or the Buddha of this historical time, behind me is a statue of him. He was born in the Shakya clan. Muni means to subdue. So you can say he was the subduer, or the Buddha from the Shakya clan. Prostrate offering and go for refuge. Please grant me your blessings. So we do that. Okay, so we have 15 minutes left. Maybe we can do this next session, and I can open it up for questions now. How does that sound? Okay, are there any questions?
I'll go if nobody's ready to go. Oh, Dana, go ahead.
So all of these practices is done all at one time, or do you pick and choose which ones you want to do, or this is a lot?
Well, okay, one thing is as we do, we are, I'm giving commentary, right? So later when you get familiar with the practice, it'll be quicker, okay? Now, it could be the case that we can break it up over the course of a day. So, yeah, you have to find a logical place to do that, but you could break it up. But really, yeah. You could, for example, and this depends on your schedule, what your day is like, but you could, just as an example, I'm gonna go back to this the text. Okay. So you could do in the morning when you wake up that breathing meditation, and then just do the motivation, and make this your motivation for the day, right? And maybe just take refuge, generate bodhicitta, like that. Let's say you only have 10 minutes. But I think once you get quite familiar with the practice, you could do the whole thing in half an hour. Yeah. I'm a bit long-winded, right? So remember, all those tangents I went on, stream enter, once returner, non-returner, you're not going to have to do that on a daily basis, right? Right. So actually, even this, beginning part. It's not that long when you actually do it. And even here for the refuge visualization, you don't have to recite out loud, right? And at the level of my forehead, about 2 meters, right? You can just do the visualization, right? Just visualize. And what this basically means is you're visualizing Shakyamuni Buddha 2 meters in front of you. So, of course, if you have more time, what these words, it goes into the significance of, the different aspects, right? But if you can just quite immediately have this picture in front of you, okay, great. So it depends. Okay. Mary Ellen?
I was just going to see when I've seen Lama Zopa Rinpoche do prostrations, he stretches his feet out. Like, he gets off of the balls of his feet. He doesn't leave his feet under him. Is that?
Yeah. There's, so as I was mentioning, the benefits of prostrating is every atom your body covers, for that many eons, you attain the merit to be reborn as a wheel-turning king for that many eons. So by stretching out your feet, you're covering more atoms. Right? That's the point. He, at one point, I'm not sure if he was joking or not, but he was saying, women or people with long hair who normally have it in a ponytail, he said to release, right? So maybe your hair is covering more atoms. Not sure. Well, that also means, right, if you are, living on a mountain, you're covering more atoms, right? From all that. So if you're going to do like the 100,000 preliminary practice, if you can do that in, probably due to lack of oxygen, you couldn't go so high, but, maybe do your prostrations in Denver. Not that bad, not that bad. Okay. Anything else?
I just wanted to say that the precepts practice that we do is one of the best things I do for myself, even with one other person in the room. It's really wonderful practice. And we do the morning prayers afterwards. So a little promo there. Join us if you like.
Okay. So let's see. Let me see. Okay. I'm going to then just use, right? We have 9 more minutes, and the workers, they're just coming in. There's no jackhammering yet. So we're going to take advantage of the time. I am going to go back to the, oops, sorry. Well, let's just keep the big picture in mind, right? We have this, the topics. Okay. So we're now almost going to do this, right? Okay. Why don't we do this? It's 8 minutes. 8 minutes left. I will just continue on with this Shakyamuni practice. Yeah, do you see? Okay. So the refuge visualization is going to take more than 8 minutes because I do want to say some things. But the next section here on the 4 measurables, this is one of the bullet points of things we have to cover. And I think I can do this in our remaining time. So 4 measurables is a practice that is done in all the Buddhist traditions. And so why is it immeasurable? Right? We're developing a mind of equanimity, love, joy, and compassion towards all sentient beings. Okay, so immeasurable sentient beings. And then generating such a virtuous mind in relation to immeasurable sentient beings, the benefit we receive is also immeasurable. So here we have 4 measurables, and each one we have 4 sort of parts to that. So first we're thinking how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were to abide in equanimity. So here equanimity means this mind free from attachment and hatred, discriminating some sentient beings as close and others distant. So it is because ourselves and others have this mind of attachment to those that we perceive as close to us, hatred for those that we see as enemies, that we then run into all sorts of problems. We accumulate negative karma by harming those that we don't like. We engage in other negative actions like sexual misconduct and stealing due to attachment. Okay, so if all sentient beings had this sense of even-mindedness towards all, how wonderful that would be, right? Probably be no more war in the world, and so many of the negative actions that harm others would also cease. Yeah, how wonderful that would be. So here we contemplate, and we do what is called an analytic meditation, right? So we're trying to evoke this mind state, thinking about how wonderful it would be. When we arrive at that conclusion, then we let our mind abide in that state, that conclusion. Okay. Then we go on, and next is a kind of wish, right? May they abide in equanimity, right? So first is just seeing how wonderful it would be, and then to think from the depth of our heart, may they abide in equanimity. Then to go beyond that and say, I myself will cause them to abide in equanimity. So we make the commitment to guide them to generate this mind of equanimity within their own minds. And then please, Guru Buddha, bless me to be able to do this. So here we're asking for inspiration that from our Guru, that we can generate equanimity within ourselves and then cause all of this to abide in equanimity. So similar with the other 3, the how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were to achieve Buddhahood. So here I'm pretty sure this footnote is going to talk about, in other formulations, it would say we're to have happiness and the causes of happiness. Let's see. 20, yeah. Lama's Rinpoche replaced the original words to have happiness and the cause of happiness to achieve Buddhahood, because happiness tends to bring to mind temporary samsaric happiness, whereas what sentient beings actually need is enlightenment. Okay. The actual formulation is, how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were to have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they have happiness and their causes. I will achieve them. I'll cause them to have happiness and the causes. Please, Guru Buddha, bless me to be able to do this. So yeah, you got that? That's why. That's why this change was done. Now, it should be noted, and I don't want to contradict Lama Zopa Rinpoche, but of course, we want all sentient beings to have every kind of happiness, even samsaric happiness. But seeing that that is problematic, we want them to have, it is said, even the happiness of on a hot day to have a cool breeze that cools them off, right? We want them to have that. Yes. Is that the ultimate goal? No way. So, but everything from that all the way to the state of Buddhahood, we aspire for sentient beings to have. Then immeasurable compassion. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were free from suffering and the causes of suffering. So we can think on a more temporary level, sickness, war, these causes that we see for mental and physical suffering. But more importantly, the cause of suffering being the karma and delusion, right? That's what propels us into samsaric suffering. And then even when we think of suffering, those of you who did the module on samsara and nirvana, you can think of all 6 types of suffering, 8 types of suffering, and so forth. Yeah. May they be free from suffering and its causes. I will cause them to be free from suffering and its causes. Please, Guru Buddha, bless me to be able to do this. Then, how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were never separated from the happiness of higher rebirth and liberation, right? So here they call this joy or mudita. And here, this is an antidote towards jealousy. So, if we are jealous, when we see sentient beings experience something good, we can, think, oh, they don't deserve that. But here, since we want all sentient beings to have the state of highest happiness, highest enlightenment, then when we see others or think about others attaining something good, we sort of aspire that they never be separated from that. And instead, always have the happiness of higher rebirth and liberation. Okay. So that is the 4 immeasurables, and our time is up. Okay. So let's just go to the end and do a brief dedication. So due to all the past, present, future merits collected by me, all the merits of the 3 times collected by numberless Buddhas and numberless sentient beings, may bodhicitta be generated in the hearts of all sentient beings of the 6 realms, and especially in the hearts of everybody in this world, including all the students, benefactors, and volunteers in the FMT organization. May it be generated in the hearts of all those who rely upon me, all those who promise to pray, and all those whose names have been given to me. May it be generated in my heart and the hearts of all my family members, those who are living and those who have died. May bodhicitta that has already been generated increase. Yeah. Okay. We're out of time, but this is good too. Okay. Due to all the past, present, future merits collected by me, numbers of Buddhas and numbers of sentient beings, may all war, famine, disease, global problems, all the dangers of earth, water, fire, and wind be stopped immediately. May perfect peace and happiness prevail in everyone's hearts by their generating loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. May the Buddha Dharma from where sentient beings receive peace and happiness last a long time and spread in all directions. May all sentient beings meet the Buddha Dharma and achieve enlightenment as quickly as possible. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll send out the reading assignment for next week, but also this Shakyamuni Buddha practice. I think you can do already. So gain familiarity with this. And then, next week I'll go into a bit more commentary, giving some details. But I think even now, most of you will know well enough to at least start to do it, right? Okay. So thank you very much. Anything else at this time?
Thank you, Venerable Namjon.
Okay.
Thank you, Venerable Namjon.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mary Ellen.
Venerable Namjon, Mary Ellen, and others.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Good
Have a good
night.
week, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a good week. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.